Hello, listeners. Today, I'm going to show off my favorite team I've ever made. Specifically today, I've had this team for a few months that I've built, but I just reached top 10 on the DPP ladder with it. I'm currently sitting at 1624. My GXE is pretty bad because I have like 1,500 battles played on this account, but like a 74% GXE. Where'd I go? I'm number 6 now. That's weird. I was just at number 10. Okay, well, apparently I'm number 6 on the ladder with 74.2. That's a pretty bad GXE. I mean, look at the people above me. They're crazy, but I also have a ridiculous amount of games played, like 1,700 games nearly, so who cares? Yeah, onto the team. So it's the impetus behind this team's building was I wanted to use 3 pixies. And 3 pixies means size span. Specifically 3 pixies. I initially wanted to do the concept with Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit. Unfortunately, pairing all 3 of those on a team is gimmicky. So hence I had to go something a little more normal in Jirachi and Celebi. Celebi is a bit unconventional, but I'll explain each member's roles once I get to each of them. So if you're using multiple pixies, you got to use offense. You know, Azelf is an offensive mon. You don't use Azelf on a defensive team, so hence it's an offense. And on offense, what do you do with Azelf? You lead with it. You lead with rocks, boom, and occasionally you have 2 fillers. Typically Taunt and Thunderwave would go in this slot for the HO Zelf that I'm using, but I use U-Turn for reasons I'll explain later. The spread, it's for people who aren't experienced with DPP. This spread allows you to live Metagross Meteor Mash plus Bullet Punch, provided Meta doesn't get an attack raise. The 24 defense allows, with the 200 HP, allows you to live Roserade's Leaf Storm. And I believe you get like a 1 out of 16 chance to live Dragonite's Draco Meteor, but I'm not entirely sure. No, never mind, I'm talking out of my ass. Draco Meteor from this thing is way too strong to live. If you wanted to invest specially defensive with a Citrus Berry, I've tried that before, but generally running physical defense on Azelf is better than special, because you get situations like Lum where it allows you to turn a losing matchup from Rose into a winning one with Taunt plus Rocks. Boom's pretty nice. It does what Boom does. U-Turn. So this is the main deviation from the norm. It's not that big of a deviation because U-Turn's a really good move, but you don't really need Thunderwave's paralysis against Jirachi. I'll explain why you don't need that when we go over the other members, but having U-Turn to get in your big guns for an offense team is really big. Paralysis could be argued to be bigger, but I like the pivot ability because sometimes you're able to keep this Azelf for the mid game. U-turning for momentum more than once is really nice, especially when paralysis isn't really going to have that much of a purpose. Considering the things that you're targeting for paralyzing, you're going to beat with the rest of the team. So having U-turn, slight chip damage, even against Tyranitar, is pretty nice. Celebi. So, just the typical nasty plot set. Sometimes people choose HP Ice, but I feel like this team needed HP Fire more. It helps you roast Steel types. You Oko special or physically defensive Skarmory at +2. Not quite specially defensive, but I mean, come on, this is Celebi versus Skarmory, doing upwards of 80%, upwards of 90%. I mean, having a chance to kill Skarmory after rocks, especially defensive no less, is quite nice. I mean, with slight chip, Skarmory naturally takes a whole bunch of chip throughout the game. So being able to kill this with just one plot is really nice. Another notable thing about this, Clefable. Clefable has to be nearly max Spadef in order to guarantee live +2 Leaf Storm. Anything shy of this is at severe risk of death. If it's a Calm Mind Clefable, it drops. If it's the spread that lives Flygon, which is 72 here, 184 there, this drops. Significant chance to, anyway. I mean, like, the second Leaf Storm kills, and it drops you to neutral after one Leaf Storm, so if it tries pivoting around, neutral Leaf Storm is still kind of tough to switch into. Heatran drops after this, too, no matter the spread. Yep. Yeah, especially defensive Heatran gets destroyed by it. Fortress gets dropped, too, which the team actually kind of struggles with, so having Fortress be dropped is really nice. You don't need Timid on this. Modest is pretty much needed for all of those KOs, and Timid only really, like, the only notable applications that Timid has are for speed tying a bunch of things and outspeeding Gliscor. And as we'll see later, considering we have 2 water types and Gliscor can't threaten Celebi, that's not that big of a deal. Jirachi. This is the first real deviation of the team. It's not really that big of a deviation, but it's more of a deviation than U-turn on Leo's Elf. So, Calm Mind plus Iron Head. It's actually pretty nice in a lot of situations. Iron Head allows you to bluff a few different sets, but it mainly depends on what moves are revealed. The most notable application is if you have your special moves revealed, so Psychic, Thunderbolt, Calm Mind. Typically, if you're at 1 boost and Tyranitar comes in and it has Earthquake, it's dropping Jirachi because Hidden Power Ground 3-hit KOs Tyranitar at +1. Grass Knot, it depends on the Tyranitar. I'd have to check. Okay, so if Tyranitar has any amount of bulk, then it likely has Earthquake, and it's going to drop this. And I mean, Grass Knot plus Thunderbolt, kind of ridiculous. So they'll be assumed to be safe against you. Meanwhile, look at Iron Head. You just 2-hit KO Tyranitar. It's really good. It also has other uses, too. Say, for instance, you have Iron Head Thunderbolt revealed. Typically, the last 2 moves on that set would be Ice Punch HP Ground, or, those would be, like, the last 2 moves. So then Gengar thinks it can switch into Dent You with Shadow Ball. Then you just OHKO with Psychic. It's also really nice for Machamp to have Psychic. Does loads. Being able to 1-hit KO Breloom in this metagame is huge. Breloom is a massive threat. This you could justify as Grass Knot, but we have like one of the strongest grass move users in the tier, so we don't need Grass Knot. It would only really be useful for Pert, and Thunderbolt hits Skarmory. Spread self-explanatory. It's Super Rachi spread, but instead of Timid, Hasty for more Iron Head damage. Spec Starmie is insane. There are no switch-ins to this thing in the mid-game because, actually because of U-turn Azelf. This is one of the big guns I was talking about. So you U-turn on some unspecified lead with Azelf, you get in Starmie, Hydro Pump threatens to OHKO that lead, so they switch. If they don't have a great water answer, well then you just revealed your endgame plan. You're going to clean with Starmie or Bullion. Hydro Pump, very powerful. It does like 25% to heavily bulked Roserade and Latias, and you have Ice Beam for both of those. Though most of the time you're going to go with Hydro Pump. Thunderbolt, nice for Gyarados checking, other water checking. Trick is only really clicked against Latias, but it could also have good use against bulky SD Scizor and Metagross. I guess you could trick a Flygon too, or a defensive Lati. Empoleon. This set is awesome. It was posted on the forums by BKC, and this is definitely a BKC set. It's very reminiscent of BKC Tar from ADV, where it's just 4 attacks with max attack, max HP, and it's effective. Well, replace T-Tar with Empoleon, give it knockoff, and the same spread. And just like that, you have probably one of the best glues in the tier. Deceptively best glues. Because it helps against every matchup, and it's very threatening on its own merits. This combination of coverage isn't, like, no Mon in the tier can reliably take all of this at once. Aside from the special walls, Clefable and Blissey. Well, I'll show you Clefable's damage, and then I'll let viewer interpretation determine if Clefable can take this on. 224. Remember, this set is not very common. They don't normally run this much special defense. If you knock off Clef, then let's give it a wagging tail, I guess. I mean, that's a big chance to free hit KO. And if it knocks you into Torrents, well, then yeah, that. Remember, this spread is worst case. You could also run Hydro Pump, and then look at how your damage just skyrockets against Clef. Yeah, upwards of 69% to a max Spadef Clefable. This thing is a monster. Granted, you can never, ever 1v1 Blissey, but you have Knockoff, you have Trick with Starmie, you have Iron Head with Jirachi. You can handle Blissey. Boom on his elf, too. Actually, Blissey is probably like one of this team's biggest weaknesses, in all honesty. But Blissey is used by Bio, which is shredded by Celebi. This hits Milo really hard. Other waters. The best use for this is probably Suicune, because Empoleon is one of the best Suicune checks in the tier. Now, if it starts getting like really big boosted, you can Trick. Surf is still annoying, but you can manage Suicune. You have this too. This hits really hard. You can para it. Suicune kind of sucks, but it's, like I said, manageable. Ice Beam, mainly for Roserade and Latias. With max HP, Empoleon is great at 1-for-1s, particularly against Latias. Specs Latias can never kill Empoleon, even with Thunderbolt, and then you drop it with Ice Beam. Well, maybe drop is a strong term. Well, okay. Drop is a strong term. Latias is stupid bulky. But not all Latias carry Thunderbolt. Yeah. Not to mention, if this thing is heavily chipped, like this Ice Beam will put it in range of Flygon's U-turn. Especially after rocks, and if they have a T-Tar of their own, then it helps with killing that off. 24 speed is for creeping the other min speed base 60s. So Swampert, Clefable, and Tyranitar. And then max HP allows you to become a Lati switch-in. Also, a really big Jirachi switch. Since this is the main Jirachi switch, you need max HP and leftovers in order to be able to handle Iron Head. Because otherwise, bulky Jirachi can be quite difficult to deal with. I mean, then again, when is Jirachi not difficult to deal with? But With this, it helps a lot in the Jirachi department. Jirachi would actually be the main reason you would switch Surf to Hydro Pump on your coverage, but I like Surf better because you're already using Hydro Pump on Starmie. You don't need two inconsistent water moves on the team, so just stick with Surf. Has more power points for the defensive matchups. This is what allows you to stay flexible. Though Hydro Pump is also nice for busting through special walls. Flygon, it's a cleaner. That's pretty much all it does. Well, Flygon's U-turn is akin to Azelf's U-turn. It even has similar base power, too. 294 compared to 286. They both dent T-Tar pretty decently, like 40% on a Bulkless Tar. Thunder Punch for Gyarados, since, I mean, you have Celebi and Starmie. So Gyarados answers, it's not like they're non-existent, but Gyarados can bust through these. Starmie is one waterfall flinch away from dying against a boosted Gyara, especially without leftovers in bulk. Celebi can get Ice Fang frozen. Unlikely, but that does suck, and it can happen. Bounce exists, and Bounce drops Celebi. But if they're bouncing, that means they're missing on coverage, and then you kill them with the rest of the team. I'm curious how much Bounce does. Stupid fucking Mon. That does too much damage. Gyarados is annoying. That's why we have rocks. The spread. Okay, so 36 defense allows you to live Lucario's extreme speed. Specifically, like the most powerful version of Lucario's extreme speed you live. I will show that off. Yeah, 99.6 max. To live it with rocks, you need 88 defense, which kind of sucks if you have to put that much into defense. You have to go down to 180 attack to get the necessary to defense to live this after rocks. Yeah. Any less, and Lucario has a chance to kill you. So it kind of sucks. But 180 attack has its faults too. I believe you lose out on a 2-hit KO against bulky Jirachi. Yeah, like, look at that. That's stupid. Meanwhile, if you're at 232, then you have much better odds. Like, guaranteed drop it after rocks, whereas 180, I believe you don't have the guaranteed chance. I mean, granted, it's 15 out of 16 odds, but, I mean, a guaranteed chance for your Stab Earthquake to not kill a super effective target, that's stupid. You also, I believe you don't have a guaranteed OHKO against bulky Gar after rocks with Outrage. Yeah, like, look at that. That's stupid. Especially if it invests more than 80. So just stick with 232. It's not even like this defense is super needed, because Celebi lives Lucario's extreme speed and then kills it back with Earth Power, so not super needed. Jirachi can also fight off Lucario in the endgame. Psychic does comparable damage to what Fire Punch would do. Breloom is actually not that bad of a matchup, surprisingly. It doesn't look like there's much in here aside from Celebi that takes hits. Generally, you don't want to use Celebi as a pivot into anything, really, but it's a really good pivot to Breloom. Resists both the stabs, Hidden Power Fire, 2-hit KOs, every Breloom in existence. Well, wait, let me do something before I'm not false advertising things. Yeah, bulkless Loom drops. Yeah, you 2-hit KO every Loom. There is no Breloom in existence that runs this. And if it runs this, it's not threatening your team, so Yeah. Celebi is the most reliable Loom check in the game. Jirachi, one-hit KOs Loom. Starmie, one-hit KOs Loom. Empoleon, one-hit KOs Loom. Not especially defensive. Flygon can do decent damage to Loom, too. So that's the team. I really like this team. It got me top 6. Yeah, no, I already checked it. Top 6 on the ladder. I want to peak top of the ladder with this, but I've never done that before. I don't have quite the skill as the top 20 players, but maybe I'll be able to top ladder. It's not like ladder is something super skilled or anything. You just get crit all the time. Stupid fucking ladder. But yeah, that's the team. Figured I'd show anyone who wants to copy my team. I would hope so. I would love to see Empoleon more. This thing, no matter how strong it is, Empoleon is always an underrated beast in DPP. And that's my closing message. Use Empoleon more. Bye.